If I were to start a Etsy and print-on-demand business in 2023, what exactly would I do differently? And this is a question I have had recently from students, and I have even thought for myself and my coaching and my teaching on how I would do things differently so that I could grow a store to that multi-six-figure mark like my own Etsy business has grown to. Now, this is something that I think about a lot for any student that I coach and that I teach in any of my courses and even online on YouTube. I really like to delve into this question every single year going forward because it is such an important question to ask, especially when market saturation can occur in certain product types, certain niches, and things like that, where you have to have a different strategy as you go forward and as the years go on per year that you start an Etsy and print-on-demand business. To kind of go back in time with me for just a moment here, and I wanted to go over how Etsy and print-on-demand really started on the online frontier. So when Etsy allowed print-on-demand to be connected to Etsy once upon a time, the first thing to hit the market was t-shirts, and t-shirts really sold on Etsy. This was one of the big sellers, and there were so many different sellers who earned over $1 million and then multiple six figures on Etsy selling just t-shirts through Etsy when print-on-demand was first allowed on the platform. So fast forward a few years as we go into 2018, 2019 time, that's when we started seeing a market saturation of t-shirts on Etsy because print-on-demand sellers were selling them and then also handmade businesses were selling them. Then as we went into 2020, 2021, again, there's just more market saturation for t-shirts and many more print-on-demand products were brought onto the catalog for Printify and Printful and all of these other print-on-demand providers. Over time, we started seeing different types of products being sold on the Etsy platform, such as mugs, there was sweatshirts, there was hoodies, there are even shoes and journals. So all of these other items are being introduced onto Etsy and more buyers, more sellers are entering into the market. Now, the reason why I want to note all of this is just to show you that over time, we are evolving as the Etsy platform evolves. And what may have sold in the past may still sell today because some of those sellers that sold t-shirts and sweatshirts really well in maybe 2020, 2021, and even 2022 are still selling on the platform, but some sellers have migrated off the platform. So they've went to Shopify or their own website, and there's just a different type of saturation now that you need to account for as we go into 2023. With all that being said, this is where I go into exactly what I would do differently if I started a store in 2023. And while I think that t-shirts can still be profitable, I probably wouldn't go into that first. And we'll get into that a little bit later in this video. So guys, first and foremost, what I would do in 2023 is as simple as just starting. And I know this one is very obvious and a lot of you probably have already started your stores, which is great and you can skip to the next step. But for those of you who haven't skipped and you are still here, I do want to say that a lot of previous students and clients of mine have emailed me and stated, hey, I've watched all your videos and I'm finally just starting after a few weeks or a few months of just watching Etsy and YouTube types of videos. Now, with that being said, when I began, I went through the same process where I was watching all these videos and I kept thinking, what if that were me being that person on YouTube talking about how much I made in a year's time from now? And that's something I want you to think about is the sooner that you start, the sooner you'll see results and the more likelihood of getting more and more revenue and profit over time. If I were to have started a year prior when I started to find print on demand and YouTube videos, then I would have maybe been a $1 million Etsy and print on demand store owner at this point. However, I started in 2021, and that's when I began, which I earned multiple six figures in 1 year's time frame. And then now I'm at over $400,000 in revenue, which is well over $100,000 in take-home profit from a business I started 2 years ago. But with that being said, I always think to myself, what if I started a year earlier? What if I started a few years earlier? And that's something I want you all to think about now, is instead of having that what if, it's good to just start. And I hope that that kind of helps some of you who are scared to start, because I know that feeling where there's so many things you don't know about business. And there is that expression of, I don't know what I don't know. And that is the part of Etsy and print on demand that I try to teach throughout all of my courses and all of my free trainings online. So if you haven't started already, I have a tutorial called the full Etsy and print on demand printified tutorial for 2023. I highly recommend watching that, just so you can learn more about how to set up your store, how to integrate everything, how to get that first listing on your Etsy store. So highly recommend that, and I will see you guys in what I would do, step number 2. The second thing I would do in 2023, if I were just beginning and I had no knowledge with Etsy and print on demand, is I would do my research first. And this is the most important step of opening up an Etsy and print on demand business. A lot of new Etsy and print on demand sellers usually start with just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks, and that, maybe you have all these ideas running through your head of quotes to put on t-shirts, mugs, or tumblers, or socks. And I feel like that is the first greatest mistake I've seen with a lot of new Etsy sellers, and even myself. I was throwing listings on Etsy and I had no data to prove that any of my listings had any demand, that people were searching for those types of items on Etsy. I didn't even know if the design was trendy or would sell, and I didn't know if the product was a good product for that specific niche and design. So there were so many components I did not know, and it wasn't until I started doing some really good research on what type of niches were really high demand, what things sold on Etsy, and how to do SEO. There's just so much in the world of Etsy and print on demand to learn that I wish I would have done research earlier. So if I began in 2023, I would start with research. I would maybe get a research tool such as Everbee or eRank or Sales Samurai, any types of research tools that could really help me in the process of research and seeing what is high demand versus low demand. Now, I did want to share one of my resources that I have called My Niche Playbook. Now, this is a 20 plus PDF guide that gives the 34 most profitable niches that I have found through my time on Etsy. So you literally could take a page of my playbook to learn what niches I personally have sold, what ones that I would suggest others to sell, especially in 2023. And I also give a bunch of keywords and product suggestions on what is lower saturation and what really has sold in the past on Etsy and still sells even in 2023. So hopefully that helps some of you, and you can get that in the link in the description below. Now, through my research, I would find 5 highly profitable niches on Etsy. So profitable niches are as simple as finding things that people are really searching for. There is a high demand on Etsy. And some of the easiest ways to find these types of products is looking at top ranked Etsy stores and seeing what they are selling and what is really selling for those stores. So you can usually find that through seeing what is 20 plus added to cart on different stores, and that shows that there is a high demand for those niches. So one of my favorite tools to use to find these high profit items is Everbee. I like going on Etsy and searching just gifts for him, gifts for her, gifts for mom, gifts for dad, gifts for maybe a new grad, and you can find all the items that populate underneath that search criteria. Then if you click on the Everbee products analytics tool, you can view what is selling, how much certain sellers are making per item that they're selling, and this can can give you a really great idea of what you can sell and what you can create with print on demand on Etsy. So the next thing I would do after doing that research and finding those 5 evergreen profitable niches is I would look into what is a low saturation product type but has high profit margins. Now, with that being said, as print on demand has increased with Etsy sellers across the platform, there really aren't going to be those very, very low saturation product types, but there are medium to lower saturation product types that I would start designing for in 2023. To give you some ideas of that, that can be as simple as selling print-on-demand jewelry. Jewelry is sold on Printify and also Shine On. T-Lunch also has their own jewelry they sell now. Metal signs is another lower saturation Etsy product type that a lot of sellers aren't selling as often that I've seen recently. So metal signs are a very high profit margin. You can get profit margins as high of $20 per metal sign that you sell. So that is really, really good. Blankets and hooded blankets are another type of product that has high profit margins, and it is a very high quality type of item. I highly recommend looking into those as well. So when we're talking high profit margin items, I do want you to think of some things as you're designing and thinking about how much profit that you want on items. Higher profit margin items are generally over $10 of profit per item that you sell. Lower profit margin items are usually $5 plus of profit to $10 of profit. Now, when we're talking about profit margins, what we really want in profit margins is after the Etsy transaction fees and processing fees. So transaction fees are 6.5%, processing fees can be about 3%, and then also listing fees is 20 cents per listing fee. So usually that knocks off a few dollars off of your profits. So if you're selling a t-shirt versus a sweatshirt, you still want to make sure that you have a profit on your back end on Printify of about $10, accounting for that a few dollars are going to be taken off of the profit. And if you're selling higher profit margin items, generally those items such as metal signs sell for over $50. So when we're talking about selling a $50 metal sign, generally that's about $3 that is going to be taken from Etsy for the Etsy transaction fee. So that's something to account for as well into your profit margins. So guys, when we're talking about profit margins, this is something that I really want you to think about. If you're selling 10 t-shirts for a profit margin of $5, that will be $50 of profit. However, if you were to sell a sweatshirt that has a profit margin of $10, you only have to sell 5 sweatshirts to get a profit of $50. Now, if you sell 3 metal signs, I just did the Hunger Games sign. I feel like I always do this. I always do this ever since the beginning of my YouTube channel. I've always done the Hunger Games sign. Always. Back to regular programming. If you were to sell 3 metal signs for a profit margin, which is usually around $15 to $20, you're looking at a profit of $45 to $60 for only 3 metal signs. And if you were to sell 2 pieces of jewelry, which have really the highest profit margins I have seen across the print-on-demand industry, besides maybe car seat covers, with jewelry, you could sell 2 pieces of jewelry for $25 of profit and see a profit of $50. So, with all of these profits, which one would you rather have for the least amount of effort and usually the least amount of customer service issues? For me, that would be the jewelry. And I know for a lot of people, it would be selling the jewelry. So as we go into 2023, that's something I want you to think about is, would you rather sell 10 t-shirts to get a profit of $50? Or would you rather sell 2 pieces of jewelry to get a profit of over $50? For me personally, if I started in 2023, I would sell a high profit margin product. And there's so many different high profit margin products that you can sell with Etsy and print on demand now. If you look on Printify's catalog, there are over 1,000 different items you can sell with print on demand. So please do get creative. Think outside of the box. Find that other new low saturated product type that might hit Etsy and be the next $10,000 revenue product that you create. And then eventually you may have a 6-figure Etsy and print-on-demand store on your hands. So your next step after you find those 5 evergreen niches and a lower to medium saturation product type is to create 5 different design templates that you're going to take to all 5 evergreen niches. One of the reasons to do this is for market validation. So you may have done your market research, but you also need to market validate all of the listings that you have created by getting sales over time. Now, this is something that I struggled with when I began because I was creating so many different designs across so many different niches. I couldn't see if maybe the niche that I was selecting was a really bad niche to go into. It had low demand and high competition, or I couldn't tell if my design just really wasn't a good design. So over time, I developed this design template method where I would create 5 design templates and I would take 10 phrases from each evergreen niche that I created, and I would plug those phrases into the design templates that I created in those 5 evergreen niches. Then I would expand from there as I got sales in those specific niches and in the specific design style. That would be market validation for me that, hey, people like this niche together, they like this design template together. That's a good indicator to me that this will sell over time. So after that, I would go into narrow and subcategories of those niches and try to see what else I could create in those niches with similar design templates as well. So by doing 5 evergreen niches, 5 design templates, and 10 different phrases, and even you can just do graphics, like basic graphics as one of the design templates, and that can get you over 200 listings in your Etsy store. Now, with that being said, at the very end of this video, that is the next thing I would do in 2023 is I would create a high volume listing Etsy and print-on-demand store. You will see on Etsy that the top stores on Etsy have high volume listing stores. Most of the top Etsy stores have over 1,000 listings on their Etsy stores. Now, I don't want you to get burnt out. If you're starting in 2023, you do not need to create 100 listings in one day. I personally have a 500 listing Etsy and print-on-demand business, and that gets me multiple 6 figures in a given year. So you do not need to go well over that 1,000 listing mark. It is very important to still have high quality listings at the end of the day. And when I say high quality, you want to make sure that you are learning how to correctly do SEO to bring traffic into your Etsy and print-on-demand business. You should have 3 to 5 mock-up images that are high quality per listing. And then on top of that, you want to make sure that you are really doing your research with every single listing that you create. And that's what I try to teach in all of my trainings and videos on YouTube. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what you're looking to do as far as strategy goes for 2023. Besides that, guys, don't forget to subscribe. Join me in my free webinar. I have 2 webinars I am currently running every single week. One is called How to Earn Your First 10K with Etsy and Print on Demand. The second one is called 6 Strategies to 6 Figures in 2023. So if you want to join me in those, I would love to see you in there. And I do have a live Q&A at the very end for anyone who sticks around as well. So besides that, I will see you all in my next video. Don't forget to stick around for that blooper reel. My brain always poops out during these videos, so have fun watching those. With that being said, and that question, we don't have to say that being said. When Etsy allowed print on demand to be integrated with Etsy, and I had no data to, I'm going to repeat that. And I had no data at all to prove that there was demand for this listing, that this niche was I'm going to repeat that. You are new to Etsy and print on demand, and that is and I want to share one of my resources that I sell as I'm going to repeat that. So that's not even factoring in when we're talking about Etsy fees and all the I'm going to repeat that. You're looking at a good, I have to calculate that. I'm going to repeat that. 5-star bestseller design, or I'm going to repeat that. I knew what niches were high demand for. So, yeah, I just said so like 5 times. I can definitely create those in my own head, or 4 different niches, sorry. There are bridal shower niche. We're going to repeat that. And then also there is bridal showers. Multiple different types of products and listings to create your own. I'm making this really complicated. Phrases per design and niche. Sorry, I'm going to repeat that. After that, you're going to have quite a bit of listings. You will have 10. Believe it or not, there are so many of the top Etsy stores that you will see, such as Caitlin Minimalist and also